when the world thought it could finally breathe easy after COVID-19, Mpox shows up like an unwelcome guest. You know how they say, when it rains, it pours. Well, Mpox is pouring down hard on West and Central Africa, with cases even spreading to other parts of the world, like Pakistan and Sweden. And just like the devil always seems to get the blame for bad things, the monkey is getting tagged as the culprit for this viral disease that is making a comeback. Originally found in monkeys, Mpox has now jumped to humans, causing symptoms like fever, rashes, headaches, and fatigue. But what really catching the attention of health experts, including the WHO, is that a more dangerous strain has emerged, which is why Mpox has been declared a public health emergency. Here in Nigeria, our health authorities aren't sitting idle. They are stepping up efforts to raise awareness and keep the situation under control. So, on this episode of Health Options, we will be hearing from an expert who will guide us on how to protect ourselves from this virus. And don't forget our regular Nature's Corner segment, where we explore some natural health tips. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim, and I'm glad you're here with us today. You've heard the saying, a stitch in time saves 9, right? Well, when it comes to health, being proactive can make all the difference. And with everything we've learned from COVID-19 and cholera, Nigeria isn't taking anything to chance in this fight against Mpox. Acting quickly and decisively is how we stay ahead. This week on Health Options, we are joined by an expert who will walk us through everything you need to know about Mpox and steps we can take to stay safe. Joining me in the studio is Professor Titus Ibekwe, a public health professional and an ENT surgeon. Many thanks for joining me, Prof.
I'm glad to be here.
Now, what is all about Mpox?
Thank you very much. Mpox is one of the emerging and reimagined diseases. It is a viral disease that belongs to the Mpox family of viruses. Before, everybody knows this as monkeypox. Just like other viruses, it waxes and wanes. And this time around, it started all over again in East Africa, which is the place of origin, and it is fast spreading across the globe because of the mode of, the mode of transmission of this disease. It has this tendency to move very fast, since through contacts, this can be transmitted through aerosols, which is people sneezing and all those. It can also be picked up, just similar to what we used to know about COVID-19.
Yeah.
Very similar. So the transmissibility is very high, and this is why it's like moving on a very fast trend, just as you have described already. But the good thing in this part of the world, in Nigeria, up to now there's no deaths, which is something to cheer about. It connotes two things. It's either that our system will have very good immunity, tend to be resistant to this disease, so it doesn't express itself that it would have ordinarily have done, or that at the same time our health professionals are doing their job, spreading the good news, and people are taking precautionary measures. Modes of presentations is very important. Apart from the rashes, which is typical, you can misplace this or take it for any other regular illnesses, even common malaria, because it comes with fever, it comes with generalized body pains, weaknesses, myalgia, which is muscle pain, headache, lethargy. These are things that you see in common viral illnesses, even common cold, or see in malaria. But typical of this is the type of rashes that is usually associated with it. Okay. These rashes are like raised rashes. is umbilicated, which means it's elevated and looks very unusual, like spots, as if traces of when you peel out, seeds of corn is placed on individual body, and is pustular, which means is vesicular rather, which means it can rupture and release some fluid. And this fluid contains a lot of these viruses within. Is an easy means of transmitting this. And when this happens, it dries up, okay? And over time, this becomes cyclical. You see this person getting, sicker and sicker, getting very lethargy, unable to carry on with regular activities, So people who are immunocompromised, that is to say, individuals who immunity level, which is why I said it is very possible that in this part of the world we have built up good immunity. Since day in, day out, we find ourselves getting exposed to a lot of viruses. And some of these have some cross, immunity, which is a way of this particular one looking very similar to the other, like smallpox, is very similar when you, characterize this.
Yeah.
But those individuals whose immune levels are very low, that is where it can cause a lot of harm and can even kill, because in such individuals, it can now start affecting brain. They'll start losing consciousness. They'll start, losing orientation. And when you have such infections affecting the brain and the meninges, the covering of the brain, it is usually very deadly, and people can succumb from that.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me ask this, Prof. I know a lot of people will be wondering, from the name monkeypox. Now, I know monkeys are not common around these parts of the country. Now, for people who keep monkeys as pets, should they be worried? Do you contract it directly from monkeys?
Not really. We have moved on a long time ago.
Okay.
This the Mpox can affect, animals and human beings.
Okay.
Right, and with variable ways of presentation. The animals are not usually as sick as human.
Oh.
So it was identified first along that line, but now we know that human beings have it. So human to human, person to person transmission is actually what the problem is right now, what we are suffering from, rather than seeking out monkeys and maybe trying to eliminate monkeys, and you think that by so doing you are going to contain the disease. Is not true. So every precautionary measures that we used to take during the COVID period, distancing and making sure that you use your PPE where necessary, good hand hygiene, good personal hygiene, when you're sneezing, cover very well, wash your hands regularly. All these are very important and what I actually need. And a good personal and environmental hygiene to ensure that, we break the circle and the chain of transmission of this disease.
Okay. I would like to ask now, in what parts, of our settings are we seeing, or are we likely to see more of this outbreak? Especially people, in a close-knit, surroundings, like people in the hinterlands, and against people in the city. Where are we most likely to see more of this outbreak?
Well, where the awareness is very poor.
Okay.
What you don't know, you may not be able to prevent, because preventive measures still remains the best mode of treatment. Even the viral drug, Technovirant, is hardly available and is not effective on so many people. And the vaccines, is just imagined every day, cannot go around as expected, so easily. So those places that you have, congested environment, the people where personal hygiene, environmental hygiene is poor, where the awareness and these precautionary measures that were mentioned, is not an order of the day, it's not being practiced. So there is tendency. If you go to marketplaces where people congest themselves together, or where there's crowding and all those, so that is how it goes.
How is Nigeria ready to contain, or do we have the capacity to contain, maybe a possible outbreak of the disease?
Yeah, I very much believe so. We do, because in the time past, we've even had more deadly, diseases of public interest as much and even of global interest that Nigeria was able to contain the Ebola virus, for instance. The Ebola disease is one which the Ministry of Health and all health professionals and indeed all Nigerians work in such a concerted way to be able to contain. The same thing goes for COVID-19. Then, of course, the efforts of the Ministry of Health and the authorities, all the health personnel in the country, standing up to it, and of course, the media is always in the forefront in Nigeria. So I give you people thumb up and kudos, which is what we're doing now, trying to spread that news and create that awareness. And once everybody become aware on what to do and start practicing that, as I said, is emerging and re-emerging disease, is viral, it circles out.
Okay, Prof, we'll take a breather here. When we return, we'll take off from where we stopped. Join us again.
Some say learning is fun, but as a mom, I see how demanding it can be for my child. That's why I ensure he starts every day with a cup of Bonvita. Bonvita, prepare them to win every day.
Welcome back to Health Options on the NTA. But if you just joined us, we have been discussing Mpox and how to protect yourself with Professor Titus Ibekwe. Many thanks for being there, Prof. Before now, the disease Mpox is said to be, within Central and West Africa. But unfortunately, we're seeing it now cross border to around Europe now. Are we likely to see a more fast-track action now that is going, viral across the world?
Well, it's just natural thought and natural way of thinking. The more the people are involved, the more racist and global a disease becomes, the more attention that it receives. And that is what is actually happening now. WHO is standing up to it because it doesn't know borders. The world is a global village right now, so people within the next few hours will find themselves to the other end of the continent, and people will keep on moving. You can't restrict movement just like that. So now that it's been declared a public health, disaster more or less, so more attention surely will be paid to that.
Now, I know we spoke earlier about, hygiene practices, which is key now. And I know it's a struggle now in some communities, to be able to sustain hygiene. What more do we need to do?
Yeah, information is power. I think enlightenment program is key, if not the most important. Because once people get to know the impact of this disease, the course it could take, and that this could be lethal, nobody will want to get himself or herself or the family unnecessarily exposed. But once the right thing is done regarding the, hygiene level, personal protections, public health measures to contain this, vaccine is also available.
Yeah,
so,
I was coming to that, Prof. We've heard about the vaccine.
So,
how do we have it readily in Nigeria?
Well, it's not really all that available, but I am sure that over time it will be readily available for individuals to procure and get vaccinated. And if the trend continues, it may get to a level that before you make travel to certain countries, they must make demands to ensure that you've been vaccinated.
Now, outside the vaccination, before then now, what other options do we have for treatment of Mpox?
Yeah, I mentioned there's a particular drug, it's an antiviral drug, which traditionally be used in managing this. But again, it is not readily available. So it's not what we walk in and pick across the counter. It's one of those special drugs, unless the farmers consent, start rolling out these drugs again that is readily available. And it doesn't give 100% protection or guarantee, So a combination therapy really is very important here. About the first level of measure is preventive measures. And that still remains the best and the easiest and most, admissible way to be able to contain this disease. Then after that, you move to the level of making sure that underlying illnesses are handled and treated. And of course, the vaccines, when readily available, people should be encouraged to take that.
Finally now, what measures now on a government or authority level do we need to put in place, for readiness and to contain this disease in the long run?
Yes.
And other possible outbreaks, of course.
Absolutely. The thing is, we should not adopt this fire brigade approach only when an outbreak is there before we start running around. So if we, anticipate some of these, emerging and re-emerging diseases, they keep on coming and going, smallpox, chickenpox, Mpox as it is, will always be coming, measles, always be coming and going. So ensuring that the level of preparedness against this is high, and also encouraging people to make sure that they complete their vaccination, especially our children. We should ensure that our children have their, complete routine vaccines given to them, and living good quality life, having good rest, and making our environment clean and neat. Then surveillance is very important. That is ensuring that our antenna is high up there, seeking this out. Let's not wait until we hear that it is close by. Let's be the first to break the news. As I said, it's only when you seek that you can find.
Many thanks, Prof, for coming on Health Option.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Now, let's switch gears and head over to Nature's Corner, where our regular pharmacist, Professor Ben Amudu, will share some natural ways to boost our health and well-being.
Non-communicable diseases are diseases we grow into while journeying on the earth. From the days we are born by our parents, as we age into them. And I am worried, and WHO is worried because of the increasing tide of the non-communicable diseases. In perspective, I give you this example. Like last year, non-communicable disease has remained #1 cause of death in the entire world, having been responsible for the death of 36 million people under consideration for that year globally. And WHO did say that their worry is that it will continue to increase. As at that time, it was 64% the cause of death in the world. As I speak now, with the current review, it has now gone to 41 million deaths, and that is 74% the total cause of death in the entire world globally. Non-communicable disease is #1 cause of death. So this is why we are worried. And most of these diseases can be prevented from the use of natural medicines and some other synthesized chemotherapy or whatever you may refer to them. So what we want individuals to be doing, according to the Nature's Corner, where we have highlighted to you various ways of taking care of yourselves. In the cardiovascular area, if you take most of these teas, even our glorified moringa, it will go a long way, because moringa itself lowers the cholesterol. A lot of these deaths are caused by cholesterol. People may not even know they have the cholesterol. You are standing giving a lecture, before you know you slump, because the cardiovascular system, the arteries, the arterioles, the capillary tubes get narrowed by the plaques coming out of this fat we take and all the rest. And before you know, the vessel that is conveying blood to the brain gets clogged up. For a second of it, you already have a heart attack. You are falling down. You are dying. And these are things that can be prevented by the intake of garlic, the intake of beet juice in the morning. What does it do? It has nitrates. It expands. Strawberry improves the heart function, and so on. Ginger and garlic does the same. The kind of things junior aspirin will do. Embolism, thrombosis, clogged arteries, and what have you. All these things can be taken care of. And for diabetics, even the beetroot, yeah, beetroot. Oh, beetroot juice is medicine made by God for man. It contains nitrates. If you have it, you don't think of Viagra. All the terminal organs of the body, the penile system, the leg, the hands, it makes blood to rush to them by dilating. It has a vasodilating effect on the blood vessels. And the nitrate of it opens the blood up in different areas and allow blood to flow freely. And even issues of stroke, either partial or complete stroke, it helps to clear the passages and allow blood to flow freely. And once blood flows freely, an area that does not have strength will start having strength because blood is now flowing. Blood is the life wire of the human system. So this Nature's Corner should be taken seriously, the lectures that you receive there, and that's why for counseling purposes, I also give my number so that you can follow up where you are not sure of. We can help you. So there's a need to have a tide of them. Once you're on these bitter taste things and sour taste things, those things will quickly run out of your system and you regain your health, and you will be surprised. In our subsequent episodes, we are going to talk about how bitter things, how sour things, how sweet things affect your health. And for counseling, as usual, I'm on 080 37 899 735.
And that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Health Options. If you missed any part of the program, you can catch up on these and previous episodes at www.nta.gov.ng. Remember, staying informed is the first step to staying healthy. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim. Until next time, stay safe and take care.